It's that time of week again, Sunday, June 6th. Welcome to Steve's Place. Tonight we're going to have a really good show. We're going to have Jeff Hayes uh, up here later, and he's going to introduce us to Tesla's health maker. And so what we'll be doing is getting our little housework done here. I want to remind everyone, if you want to go up to our website there, just click on the QR code that takes you right to it. And if you go to this Tesla Tech logo, which you see here, and that will take you to our web page, our how-to page, and you get last year's conference. You know, we have all of them available up there, including all the outtakes from the intermissions and everything. Plus, you know, you get T-shirts from us up there, and you can also donate to the cause if you'd like. Okay, for those who can, you know, it will really help us out. We got a lot of things we're working on. I'd like to also remind everyone that, yeah, if you just, let's move it. Hello? Yeah, I'm on live. Yeah, I'm on live right now. Okay, you gonna be able to do it? Okay, I'm gonna keep on here, and as soon as you can try to get up here, go for it. Okay. Okay. Why don't you try me about 5 minutes? Okay. Okay, that was Jeff. He just lost his internet connection. But in the meantime, I'll remind everyone about our YouTube channel. We're trying to get up to about 25,000 subscribers before the conference. You know, we should be able to do that. And so anyone you know, you might want to ask them to subscribe. His subscriptions are free. Gives you access to about a couple hundred videos. And if you set the notification, every time we put a video up there, it will notify you. I'm working on the 2002 videos right now from Global Science, and I hope to get those up there starting next week. I had to get a new a DVD recorder, and it's just takes forever, you know. So again, you know, I want to also remind you that we are having a conference August 6th to 10th this year. August 6th to 10th. What we'll be doing is taking and probably have to go to Albuquerque and get that contract finalized with the hotel in the next week or two here. As soon as I get that done, we will announce it on the email. We'll send out an email that will let you know you can go ahead and make your reservations at the hotel. I expect you to be at the Crown Plaza, and I think we're going to have a really good year. If you sign up before March, on Friday, let's see what March day that is. March 7th. If you sign up before March 7th, okay, we're still going to extend the 30% for 7 days. And sign up, you're going to get the workshop for free. So we're anticipating a great show. Anyway, without further ado, let me bring up our guest. It's going to be Jeff Hayes. And Jeff has many of it. Are you there, Jeff?
I'm here.
Okay.
A little hectic here, but
oh yeah, that's
got the internet back. Internet back again.
Okay, so anyway, without further ado, here's Jeff Hayes.
Can you see me?
I can see you.
All right.
And do you want to tell them about yourself?
Howdy.
About your history. You worked at Rockwell?
Well, I was a power engineer for Rockwell International and a automated industrial automation instructor, and spent 10 years traveling all over the world doing that kind of thing. And in '89, I went to work as a volunteer for the International Tesla Society. I retired early and I went out and met Steve in May of 1989. So quite a history. And then in '93, I started the Tesla Engine Builders Association. And then about a year ago, I started Tesla Health to promote the Tesla Health Giver. And so it's been quite a ride over all these years, knowing you, Steve, and all the rest. Been quite an adventure.
Okay, and here's your Tesla's Health Giver. That's going to be your presentation.
Right. Tesla really is making a comeback now with medicine. Everybody's jumping on board after it was so suppressed when it was announced in 1896. And Tesla had an article in the paper, and the very next day he was in there writing a retraction to all of his claims because they came down on him so hard. And he said, "Don't get too excited. This is all just speculation and conjecture at this point. We'll have to see what happens in the long run." But he had declared earlier that it was the cure for all disease, so he got a lot of people upset. But it turns out he's actually more accurate than he thought. He said that no one would die except of old age and accident. Now it turns out that it's actually extends life. It actually repairs the DNA and it has life extension attributes. So it was even better than he thought, but they made him write a retraction. So anyway, any other questions, Steve?
I'm good. So I'm going to the next slide.
Go ahead. There's Tesla's Health Giver. This is in 1896 when it was announced. And this is before the retraction letter was written. But if you read the text there, it talks about the cure for all disease, and there'll be no death except by old age and accident. And it was pretty amazing because he talked about a thorough shaking up. And amazingly, I just saw yesterday, got a feed, that they now are using ultrasonics with teeth. They're regrowing teeth, complete molars and everything, by simply applying frequency, ultrasonic, shaking up, as Tesla called it, and they're actually regrowing teeth. So Tesla was way ahead of his time. But in this Health Giver article, he talks about it, how it gives you exercise without actually having to move. It will activate all the muscles and whatnot. And this was actually a new way of doing things. In this article, it's revealed here that he was using 100 hertz. All of his other units before the Health Giver, you might have heard of Lakhovsky and whatnot, Tesla Lakhovsky, those units were MWOs. This is an MWO, or a multiple wave oscillator, generates multiple waves. But all the other earlier units had used carriers, like they were transmitting in the lower broadcast band, like from 500 to 1,000 kilocycles, and that's the carrier. And then they would put this energy carrier into you, and then they would pulse it, boom, 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 on, off, to get the lower frequencies, to get that shaking up, to get that vibratory cycle at the lower frequencies. Well, Tesla discovered you don't need that EMF. You can just oscillate directly. So instead of having a carrier and then modulating the carrier, he would just simply pulse at the base frequency, which makes sense. I mean, why put all that EMF out? And that's what these Lakhovsky devices, the earlier ones, they're putting out EMF. When you go in that Lakhovsky device, you're being bathed in electromagnetic and RF energy, as EMF. So Tesla got rid of that. And so all these old Lakhovsky units, they're obsolete. It's the Health Giver is the way. Anyway, next slide. So what's Tesla say here? Throughout the infinite, the force The forces are in perfect balance, and hence the energy of a single thought may determine the motion of a universe. Now, this is the thing about Tesla and balance. And that's the thing about the health giver, is it's balanced. And that's the thing about Lakhovsky Tesla units, is it was balanced. You might have heard of Lakhovsky, and he was doing electromedicine and healing. But before Tesla became involved, Lakhovsky was having very poor results. He was having minimal results. When Tesla came in and said, no, he was actually very upset with him because he thought he was stealing his patents. I went to confront Lakhovsky. He actually fell in love with the guy. He was so charming and actually helped him and said, no, you're doing it wrong. You got to make it biphasic or balanced. Instead of having an unbalanced single output, you have to have two outputs where you put the patient or whatever, subject, whatever it is, between the two antennas. And then you have a communication between those, and you are in the center in the longitudinal field. Because when you do that, when you have a biphasic circuit like that between two opposite poles, which are actually not opposite, they're actually spinning in the same direction. That's why they attract. But when you do that, you have a field in the center, which is longitudinal, and that is the longitudinal energy. In electricity, there's two forms of energy. There's the magnetic and there's the electric, and we have electromagnetics. But the electric portion is where the healing occurs, and that is the longitudinal component. It doesn't consume current. If you have pure potential, then there's no power consumption, and there's no EMF. You can get high potential without the current. You won't have the EMF, and if you can achieve balance, you can achieve that state. And that's Tesla's whole trip, was balance. Him and Walter Russell. Okay, next. Okay, here's the balance thing. It's the yin yang. So you have like positive, negative, current, voltage. The current and the voltage have to work together, and when they get together, it's a frequency, and they spin. Speed determines the frequency, okay? And the yin has some yang. That's the black dot in the yin, and the white dot in the yang. So yin is capacitive or voltage. Yang is inductive or current. And so you have an inductor and you have a capacitor. And when those inductors and capacitors come together at the right harmony or resonance, that's called being in tune. And when you're in tune, you're actually in love. You're resonating. That's what love is. So you see that green in the center where it says resonance. When those two polarities come together, they merge and they spin. They're actually in resonance. And that's where the power is. There's zero resistance at resonance. And that's what you're trying to achieve. You're trying to get that 0 point, the so-called 0 point energy. And that's where all the magic happens. Next. So there we have male, female. It's the same deal. Balance. I mean, male and female are not opposites. They're actually spinning in the same direction. They're on opposite sides of the pole, but they're not opposite. If they were opposite, they wouldn't attract. Opposites cannot and do not attract. And our brains are balanced. We have a left lobe and we have a right lobe. And they work together. And one is EMF and one is the voltage side and the love side. So we have the love side and we have the fear side. So, I mean, we can experience that in our own lives. We see it so clearly. I mean, everyone knows what love is. Everyone knows what fear is, or hate. Hate is a derivative of fear. So, I mean, we are primed. We're soaked in it. We are it. Next slide, please. There we go. And there's the brain. And you see on the two lower brain lobes, one is the fear side and one is the love side. So if you have to have a balance between it. If you're in fear, you're dumb. I mean, you'll be in big trouble. Or if you're totally in love and that craziness, you'll also be in trouble. There has to be a balance. And that's what our brain does for us. But we have to maintain balance. Only time we get in trouble is when we get out of balance. We get into fear, or we get head over heels in love, we're in trouble. But if we can balance things out, we're good. Next. And here is Max Planck, famous scientist. This is, science cannot solve the ultimate mystery of nature. And that is because in the last analysis, we ourselves are part of the mystery that we are trying to solve. And we're biphasic too. It's like, okay, what is this? We're never going to solve it because we're swimming in it, but at least we can recognize it. Next slide. So here we have a human biofield, and this is what biphasics attempts to do. It attempts to put you at that 0 point between the two poles. Okay, so if you have just a single-ended device and you just have like the top coming down or the bottom going up, that's not going to be you're never going to achieve 0 point that way. You're not balanced, and that's not going to work, and that's not going to be health. So you have to be balanced. Next. So here's Georges Lakhovsky, and why he was successful with this machine with his two outputs, his two antennas, and this is a biphasic setup where you have two poles and you sit between the two. So you have actually two coils, and we'll see the schematic on that coming up. But this is Georges Lakhovsky sitting between his two antennas, and he got famous because he listened to Tesla. Tesla came and said, this is the way to do it, increased his effectiveness over order of magnitude, and got him on the right track. But the problem is that everybody goes back to Lakhovsky's original drawings, and they build the original Lakhovsky device, and they say, well, that's the way to do it. That's original. Not knowing the history, not understanding that Lakhovsky was confronted by Tesla and changed his ways. And that's why he was successful, not because of the Lakhovsky circuit. So it has to be the Tesla Lakhovsky circuit if you're going to have success. You don't want to use an unbalanced system. And that's what seems, oh, we've got the original Lakhovsky. Well, he was wrong. So don't follow that. Next. Okay, here's an example of an unbalanced device that Tesla manufactured. It's called the violet ray. It's a handheld device with a glass, evacuated glass tube on the end of it that has a coronal discharge coming off of it, and it makes ozone on the skin. Okay, it's an unbalanced device, so it has limited efficacy. But if it does work, it generates ozone on the skin, but it is an unbalanced device. It only has one output. If this is going to be balanced, you'd actually have to have two of these devices and then go between the two glass bulbs, the two glass wands, you'd be between those. If you wired both of those coils up with the same primary and put yourself between the two secondaries on this output of those glass tubes, then you'd have a balanced system, and you go between those and you would have a balanced system. But Tesla started out with an unbalanced system called the violet ray before he wised up. Next. And here's Lakhovsky's original patent drawing. And you see there that it's got a primary and it's got a vibrator there. You see the contact with the vibrator. So the primary would actually activate the vibrator. The vibrator would switch the current on and off and then make a high voltage on the secondary. And then there would be a high voltage capacitor would be charged, and then discharging a spark gap there. When the voltage got high enough, the spark gap would conduct and then generate current through the other primary, the second winding there, and that would generate high voltage and high frequency out to the output there. But you see, it's just a single, there's not two coils there. There's supposed to be two. There's only one, and that was his original patent. And that's, I mean, it does have some efficacy, but limited. You don't want to be in an unbalanced condition. Next slide, Steve. Okay, there we have Tesla's improvement. Okay, so Tesla went in here and improved the thing, and you see what he's done. Instead of just having one coil there, and the spark gap and on the secondary there, he has got two coils, and they're on the same circuit. So both of those secondary coils are activated at the same time. So they're in phase. So one's hooked up one polarity, the other one's hooked up just the opposite. So they attract across each other on the secondary. And that attraction on the same, and that gives you the longitudinal energy, but you're in the flow. You're actually part of the circuit. You're not part of the electromagnetic component. You're primarily longitudinally activated, and that's where the healing comes in. It's like the two poles, love, hate. This is the healing is always on the longitudinal or love side. Obviously, hate does not heal anybody. Only thing that heals is love, and it's the same. We're electrical, and the same thing applies. Next. So here you have a circuit from the multiple wave oscillator handbook by Tom Brown. He's showing you how you can make a simple Lakhovsky device at home by making your own coils wound on a bottle. And you see that there you have the center is the primary, and then you have two windings on each side out to the output antennas that are the secondaries. So that's all there is to it. But if you don't do it this way, you're not going to have an effective device. But it is really very simple. Next. And here you see the Lakhovsky device. Here's one made by Peter Lindemann. Baddies they sold a lot of those ones on the bottom there with the coils. And those were biphasic. Those were nice units. They were RF units though. They weren't carrier free. They did have a modulated carrier. They weren't like the Health Giver where the carrier was eliminated, but this was the earlier work. And they see on top there what you get when you have two coils which are in phase and hooked up together on their primaries. You see what happens between the two coils. You get this massive expression of energy between them. And what you do is you get between there, and those sparks flying through there is where you want to be. You want to be in that circuit. That's where the healing is. Next slide. And there's another, a lot of people are selling these Lakhovsky devices, but buyer beware, like this one here. I mean, it's almost, was it $900? And it doesn't, it's a single, it's not balanced. I mean, you don't want it. It's a lot of money for nothing. Next. And here we see original photograph or article from 1889 to 90, and it shows Tesla's original work. And you see the center coil, you see a Tesla coil on each side, and you see the center winding that drives both. And that's the key. They're both being driven at the same time. And that's how you get the longitudinal component. I mean, you don't want the EMF. You want the longitudinal component. Next. And here's a modern version of that. And you see the driver on the bottom and the dual coil up on top. Next. And here you see Eric Dollard's work. They made a MWO recently, but it wasn't balanced, and that's wrong. So, I mean, they made a beautiful machine hardware-wise. It's really, really nicely constructed. Eric does a wonderful job, but it must have been getting under Eric's skin that he wasn't doing it Tesla's way, because after they sold this original one, I think they sold it for over $10,000. He came up with a correction, an adjustment, an accessory. They call it an accessory, so that he can add an extra coil on it and make it biphasic, make it balanced, make it correct. So now you can get this for a $1,500 option. You can get the balanced coil, and I would not buy it unless you do that. But I wouldn't buy it anyway because it's so outrageously expensive compared to what we're going to be able to offer you for almost, fraction of that price. Next. So here you see Eric Dollard sitting in between the two antennas in his biphasic setup, and you see he's got a tube there that's glowing. You see the plasma, it is going through him, and that's the longitudinal energy expressing through him. And Eric calls this a cosmic induction generator. He calls the biphasic effect, he's coined it cosmic induction. And this is a cosmic induction generator. I don't know how appropriate, I guess that's a pretty appropriate name. It is very cosmic, it's longitudinal, it's based on love. And the article below that, Tesla was asked, what do you think is the most important verbiage that there is in the English language containing the greatest inherent significance? And he said that the first word he would pick would be nature, and the second word would be light. Right, next slide. So there was a movie on, I might want to go and look at. It was called Tesla's Medicine. It was a very good movie talking about how it's been suppressed in the U.S. but it's flourished in Europe. And they went over and did a bunch of interviews in Europe, and discovered that they were getting results, amazing healing results in Europe, but we're not allowed to have that over here. But I thought it was kind of curious in that movie that only one of the practitioners in Germany actually was really excited about longitudinal. Everyone else was like, well, how does this work? But this guy in Germany, it's the longitudinal. That's what does it. But he was the only one in the entire movie. So take a look at that. It's a good film. Next. Okay, here we have transverse waves versus, transverse versus longitudinal. What's the difference? It's most electromagnetic communications in earthquakes called S wave cannot implosively compress. The longitudinal, it's sound waves, conjugate healing at a distance, mind waves, naturally superluminal and penetrates most barriers transparently, earthquake, P waves. So there is a difference. It is science. There is transverse. There is longitudinal. There is love. There is hate. There is fear. Next. So here we see Paul Esch. He was at the Tesla conference last year. He had a Tesla table for sale. There's several, maybe half a dozen people selling these tables, but they all work on the same concept. If they don't work on this concept, if they're not balanced, then they're not right. I mean, there's a lot of unbalanced units out there. So be aware. If you get nothing else from this talk, be aware that there is balanced versus unbalanced, and stay away from the unbalanced units, a waste of money. But Paul came across this completely by accident because he started out selling unbalanced units. And then he had a customer that wanted a couple coils. So he sold this woman another coil, and they hooked them up together in primary and hooked the primaries together. And it just blew her away because she had been getting, marginal results with the one Tesla coil, but they hooked up the two, and it was just amazing, the results they were getting. So Paul was going, well, what's going on here? Paul had no idea that was the original plan. He didn't know the history. He didn't know that that's the way it was supposed to be done. But he switched over. When I came to the conference and told him about this, he said, I mean, that's the way it was really originally done. I said, yeah, that's the way it's supposed to be done. So he rediscovered it all on his own. And good effort. Next. So did we skip one? There we go. There's his bed up on top. He's using plasma tubes. He's not using windings with wire. He's actually using tubes and exciting tubes. And he's got a tube on each end of the bed. And you're in between these tubes are the antennas. So you can use plasma tubes as your antennas as well. But with RF, that's okay. I mean, these things are putting out RF. And the other thing about this is if you put your hand on one plasma tube and put your hand on the other plasma tube, you will get a huge RF burn because these things are putting out RF. They put out EMF, RF. Okay, it's not there. You can touch both antennas. You won't get damaged. Not with these RF units, these Tesla Lakhovsky units. They're not Tesla's final solution. That's why Tesla gave it to Lakhovsky. Tesla moved on. He said, that stuff's obsolete. Go ahead, use it, take it, promote it. I'm done with it. Okay, so Lakhovsky got famous using it, and it does work, but Tesla left it. Next slide. Okay, here's our competition. Here is one of the few units that is not carrier based. This is the what is it? EFS 3000 Pro. These are very expensive units. I mean, but this is very similar to what we have now provided. The price is astronomical, but at least you can put your feet on these pads. These are the positive and negative, the pads there, and you don't get burned because there's no RF. It's RF free. They're one of the few ones that are doing it right. I mean, if I was going to buy one, I'd buy their unit if I didn't know better, that there's a better thing to have. But if this is all you can have, this is the one you want. You don't want the RF-based ones. This is the one you want. Next. So this is the EFS 3000 Pro. You can cart it around portably. Next slide. It's got a variac on top of it. Red thing is a variac that controls the input voltage. And you see he's got both feet on there, and he's not getting burned. And he's got a plasma tube too. He can touch that, and he's not getting burned. You know, and they call it true analog PEMF, but that's the farthest thing. But this is a contradiction of terms. It's not PEMF. PEMF stands for pulse electromagnetic field. That's not what this is. This is longitudinal energy. The more appropriate term is PLSF, pulse longitudinal scalar field. Next slide. You awake, Steve? There we go. Okay, might have heard of Royal Rife. He did a lot of work with Tesla's type of biphasics, and Rife was using biphasics, and that's why Rife got such wonderful results. He was using the Tesla biphasic system. Of course, he was using RF, though. He wasn't the RF carrier free, but he was doing biphasics. Next. And there you can see this is one of the off of a film of the oscilloscope from Rife's original experiments. And here you see, according to this video, Rife experimented with biphasic square waveforms and declared them the most effective, stating he used carrier frequencies between 13 and 43 megacycles, way higher frequencies than Tesla Lakhovsky, which were in the 0.5 to 2 megacycle range. Of course, Tesla's health giver obsoleted it all with elimination of the carrier, allowing for a much safer and effective user-friendly device. But you can see from the waveform there, it's definitely biphasic. Okay, next slide is history of opposing magnetic forces. William he's done talks on this channel as well. You might want to go back and review his talks. He talks all about longitudinal energy and Tesla longitudinals, and that's a really good reference. Glenn Ryan, he was also on this channel. He talks about longitudinal. Also, look him up. But Tesla actually patented it. Okay, it's all about the split flux transformer. William Alec, he coined the term split phase, or split flux rather. So Tesla called it, didn't use that term, but that's a good term, split flux. So we'll refer to it as split flux. So next slide. So the split flux transformer, he's actually patented this. Okay, Tesla's split flux concept has been employed in the Tesla Go. We're calling our new unit Tesla Go Health Giver to generate powerful longitudinal effects in a small package. And that's what we've done. You'll see our unit coming up. We've got the price way down. We're employing these transformers. So we can use low frequencies, no carrier, and a very simple device. So thank you, William Alec, for rediscovering it. Of course, we didn't use it as an actual transformer, but the concept is the same. Next slide. So here we go, Tesla Go. So it's the high potential, true biphasic, split flux, longitudinal phase conjugator now being auctioned. So we have an initial price on this of only $1,800. And if you want, I mean, we're asking, we're nonprofit, tax deductible. We'd like to get, I mean, if we get some operating funds, we're trying to get a little more for it. I mean, if you want to buy it right now, it's like $3,800 for the take it away price. But if you put in your $1,800 bid, nobody wants it, you got it. Okay, May 15th, the bidding closes and it will be yours. But this is a really nice little unit. It's just the most powerful little thing ever. I mean, it's an amazing little device. And we're going to be, this is number one, so it's a collector's item. We might have them for less money in the future because it really is a simple device. It's not all this, I mean, all these devices are simple. The reason they're charging $12, $13, $14, $15, $30,000 for some of this stuff is just because somebody else has it. I mean, but the Tesla Go is the best unit that I've seen of all these things. I've been using it every night for over 6 months now, and the thing is just amazing. I mean, any inflammation you have in your body, it just takes it out. It's just such a refreshing thing. Amazing device. And you see the two windings there. So I put one under my feet, and I put one under my under my back, and it just charges the whole body up. And you have to keep it. This thing has so much power. You have to have it turned almost all the way down. But if you want, and you can put these antennas up on a couple pieces of plywood and put a chair between them and sit on it, and you can crank the power up, and you can get coronal discharges coming off of those windings, and you can sit in that field just like Eric was. Just as much power for a lot less money. Next slide. Okay, here's the two windings. and at this time, we will also be including with Tesla's Health Giver a 1 ounce bottle of the exclusive 20,000 part per million Tesla Grow coated silver polysaccharide that they're charging big bucks for, and a copy of the book, The Problem of Increasing Human Energy, and also Tesla's engine, The Real Energy Solution. And you also get Nursel. We'll see that later. You don't know what that is yet, but that's we got some bonuses if you're interested. Next slide and see. Okay, and I said no burning. No, there's an original prototype. There was our original prototype unit that we got, and you see the Tesla Go is just a different housing, more portable housing. But there you have full power, and you can bare feet on there. And you see, I mean, this is when I first got it. I had a little inflammation in one foot there, you see? That's just disappeared. It's gone. Next slide. And you can have your socks on. I mean, just turn it up a little bit more power. I mean, it'll go right through your clothes. No problem. You don't have to, you can set it, you can have a Tesla chair. You can put one pad under your butt and one behind your back, under the cushions even, and just crank it up. It'll go right through the cushions. It's powerful. Next. And there you see what back. You got to go, did you go? No, okay. You're good. There you see a fluorescent bulb put between the two antennas, just like Eric was doing with his unit. It has even more power than their unit. And there you see I'm just holding a fluorescent bulb in the same room. The whole room is filled with energy. I mean, it is the most powerful MWO I have ever seen. Next. And there's the discharge off the windings. When you crank it up, you'll have what they call cold electric. And you can touch this. It's not going to burn you or hurt you. You just, I mean, you can grab onto it. No problem. I mean, you'll feel it. It won't hurt you. Right through your heart. Boom. No problem. Next. And then there's two types of health givers. There's the high voltage, which we've just been seeing. And then there's the low voltage as well. He had two versions. One was battery operated, and it actually had two pads coming off, and he had a little vibrator in there that would switch between negative and positive. Very similar to the Bob Beck unit. If you're familiar with Bob Beck, he had the pulsar, the blood purifier, and that operated with a little relay that clicked in back and forth between positive and negative, giving you a biphasic output on the pads. Well, that's what these little units do, but they're transistorized. They don't use relays like Bob Beck did. but they switch between positive, negative with a very, very narrow, fast moving pulse. So they just go positive, negative immediately. They switch positive and negative. So it's boom, 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 boom. And it does that 100 times a cycle, just like Tesla said. And these little units are amazing. I mean, they're being used for everything. I mean, they're real game changer, and they're FDA recognized. Next. So you can use them for all kinds of things, but they're really promoted for massage, and they really do a nice massage. It's like 24 different modes. Tesla just had one mode, continuous. On this machine, that's square one mode 2 if you want the original Tesla modulation. But this has a lot more. I mean, Tesla would have been blown away by these units. Next. There you see the unit. You can actually add accessories. You can put little probes on there so you can do wound healing. It will, if you get a venomous bite, it's been known to heal those. I had a very bad brown recluse bite that it just corrected immediately. Next. And there's a company called NovoCure, which has got it FDA approved now for the most difficult of brain cancers, which is glioblastoma, which is the one that you get from having that cell phone up against your head and blasting that fear signal in there. And can only take so much of that, and things start to cascade back into deterioration, but the love can recover it. And that's what she's getting, is a bunch of love. You got to shave your head, though. See, the wireless might be an advantage on these applications, because with a wired low voltage, you have to have pads that are directly applied to the skin. With the high voltage, you don't need to have that applied directly to the skin. So with these NovoCure, you'll notice that she has to shave her head to make contact, and I think it'd be a lot better if they developed the wireless version and let people keep their hair. Next slide. So thank you, Dr. Tesla. Next. So we have Tesla called it cold electricity or cold fire, and that's exactly what you're getting off of the health giver. It's cold electricity. It's not going to burn you, but you will see all the activity, and it will give you an electric bath, but it won't burn you. It might sting you if you get like a shock from like when you get static electricity, but it's not going to hurt you. Next. So Time Magazine recently did a expose article and say, is it time to take electrified medicine seriously? Next. So here, out of the article, they talk about hope for the Owens and millions of others experiencing a broad range of previously untreatable and unsatisfactorily treated diseases may be near, thanks to a breakthrough that seems more science fiction than medical reality. The remarkable convergence of advances in bioengineering and neurology has resulted in a fast developing way to treat chronic disease known as bioelectronic medicine. These advances allow scientists to identify specific nerves and implant devices that can be activated when needed to stimulate or dial down their activity, that in turn controls cells and organs targeted by those nerves that regulate the body's many immune and metabolic responses. Well, that's the thing about these guys, the medical. They get paid for procedures, so they don't want something that's you don't have to be invasive with. So their model is to actually do surgery and implant the probes inside of you, to stimulate the vagus nerve or whatever they're trying to do. But they want to put them in the body, which is completely unnecessary, but that's what they get paid for. Next. So long forgotten natural therapies and innovative treatments, holistic and proven approaches for reversing disease. So did you know that the aging process was reversible? Tesla didn't know. I mean, he said it was going to be the cure for all organic disease. He wouldn't die except from old age and accident, but he didn't know that it reversed your age. It certainly does seem to do that with ATP, and they measure the amount of ATP before and after, and they indicated 4+ increase in ATP, which is an age marker. ATP is made by the mitochondria, so the more ATP you have, the more mitochondria you have. The more mitochondria you have in the cell, the younger you are. Next slide. So it's all about truth. We need some truth. That's the end of the presentation. So anybody have any questions? Write them in.
Yeah,
There,
Jeff.
Steve?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you see me?
I can see you.
Yeah, you've been like going. It's like you're being buffered a little bit there, but it's pretty good though overall. Yeah. So.
Okay.
Okay. Anyway, yeah. Tesla looked like he was in his 30s, when he was in the late 40s and 50s. Aging is disease. And Tesla knew at least about slowing down aging. Oh, here you go. A very great presentation. And I want to take this to remind people up to give us a thumbs up, on the thing. And for people who want to contact Jeff, you can click on the QR there on the, I guess, right-hand side or whatever, left-hand, I don't know. But it says Tesla.
We have a Telegram. That's a link to the Telegram channel, which we started over about a year ago, and it's got all kinds of content there. I mean, if you want to know about electromedicine, go to that channel and look at all the posts and follow all the links, and you will be up in the expert category. I mean, it's a good education.
Well, I'm unfamiliar with Telegraph. Is that like a web page, or is that like a Twitter?
It's like a listserv. It's got all kinds of different topics, and you have groups and a moderator and members.
But is it grouped by topics?
Right. And it has secure communications, texting and phone. So you have encrypted communication.
Okay. There you go. Do you have a do-it-yourself kit?
No, but it's you don't really. I mean, it's not that complicated, but maybe in the future we will. I mean, I don't understand why these things are so expensive, because there's really nothing to it. Even the big Tesla beds, it's just a coil and a driver and the antenna. I mean, but nobody else has them. Nobody has the stuff. That's the problem, is especially the carrier-free stuff.
Well, I think part of the thing is that anytime you come out,
I don't know why people, they're not clued in. They're not clued in. They just don't know. And they think Lakhovsky is the cat's meow.
How many watts needed and what voltage and current, if applicable?
Well, this plugs into 110, and it's real simple. It's using a line frequency as a frequency reference. So it's operating at 120 hertz. If you're in Europe or Thailand or somebody that uses 50 hertz, the output will be on 100 reference. So if you're in the U.S., it's operating at 120 hertz, which is good. Because, I mean, Tesla you could operate those frequencies. Bob Beck operated at 4 hertz, and then it'll work all the way.
Where does one order your
up to as a nice medium point? But I mean, future units of the Tesla Go are going to be even more sophisticated. We're going to put in frequency control, but as far as a basic unit that's bulletproof, it's going to live forever, Tesla Go, and it's really solid. I mean, all it's in there, voltage control, the 2 coils and the output. I mean, there's nothing really to go wrong.
Where do you order it?
So, well, right now we really don't have them, but I mean, I have number 1. I'm auctioning off, and then when somebody wants number 1, I'll make number 2. I mean,
okay.
but I mean, there's really anybody can do this stuff. I mean, it's not like it's difficult, but why? I don't understand why it's not available. I mean, it should be out there for like the nurse. Well, the Nursel's out there. The Nursel you can get for as low as $20 on sale. I've seen it, and that's the poor man's health giver. And if you want the health giver, go out and get the Nursel. I mean, I think on Amazon it's like the normal price is like $35. It's not expensive, and it's not as good though. I mean, it's what they call true biphasic. There's true biphasic, and then there's near biphasic. The low voltage units are near biphasic. Okay, with the true biphasic, you're between the two coils. You're in the circuit. With near biphasic, with the low voltage, what they do is they switch. They go positive with a very narrow, thin pulse, and then immediately when it's turned on, it's turned off and reversed. So it's positive, negative, 100 times a second. And that's how you get the longitudinal effect. Because what happens is you're going positive and negative so fast that you're canceling the EMF. And when you cancel the EMF, all that's left is the longitudinal component. So you can get the longitudinal effect, but it's not as good. It can't do as much as true biphasic, but it does. I mean, hell, they're curing glioblastoma with near biphasics, which is amazing. And true biphasic is even better. So, my God.
Oh, you're going to be at the conference this year, right?
Yes, I plan to be.
And you'll have this some of these equipment with you?
Yes, I'm gonna try to hopefully somebody will want number one as a collector's item, and then I'll get a couple more at the conference, maybe get more reasonable price. Everybody should have one of these true biphasic units, but again, I have to emphasize, none of this is medical advice. This is an experimental unit. It's not for curing anything. It's for research purposes only, for experimentation, and you have to be careful with anything that's electric. Just don't forget, you're dealing with an electrical piece of equipment here. Don't do foolish things. But it's very safe.
And I'd like to mention more about the conference. We're going to be running from August 6th to 10th. People who sign up now can get 30% discount if you do it before Friday, March 7th. And we're throwing in the workshop. And the workshop this year, it looks like it's going to be how to build your own drones. And we will have drone kits for sale that are going to be affordable because we want to be able for kids to buy them. That's how cheap they're going to be. But anyway, we have some more questions coming in. Are all tins units biphasic or just certain brands?
Certain brands. They're all going biphasic now because originally those things are toxic. Do not buy an unbalanced tens unit. It has to be biphasic. Get the Nursel or equivalent. And the Nursel is the only one that has continuous modes. All these other units we've looked at, near biphasic, they're biphasic, but like High Dow is one of the companies, but they don't have a continuous mode. They don't have the original Tesla therapeutic mode. They're doing massage modulations like doon 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 doon, or Tesla just was, which you can put on and forget about it. You don't feel when you're wearing these other units and you're trying to have it on in the background and it's trying to give you a massage. It's pretty disconcerting. You're trying to walk around and it's banging you, Or the other one you just turn up and it's just a hum in the background, so it just fades away. You don't even notice it. But if you're trying, so that's the unit you want, especially if you're trying to do anything long-term therapeutic. But also keep in mind that true biphasic is head and shoulders above near biphasic. So, if you have something that the near biphasic can't deal with, true biphasic might take care of it.
Okay. And the Nursel, that's a tens unit, right?
That's tens. Well, they call it tens transcutaneous. Optical nerve stimulation, yeah.
Okay. And yeah, here's a comment here by he mentioned in an article that his way he's talking about Tesla worked as a brain stimulant. But in 1916, he talked about how he made a slow system think much clearer and quicker.
Well, exactly. That's if you use it on the brain, it can solve. I mean, that's what it's used for. It started out being primarily used for heroin addiction. It could get you off of heroin in 3 days with no withdrawal. They were charging $3,000 a week back then. I mean, that's when 3,000 was worth something a week to rent these things to get off of heroin. I guess it was worth it. But also take care of alcoholism and all kinds of, I mean, post traumatic stress disorder. I mean, I have a book. It's just filled with studies, and it's just one psychological study after the other for depression, anxiety, PTSD. It just goes on, and it's because it activates the left side. The right side, the love side of the brain operates longitudinally and not the transverse EMF hash we're getting off the other side that'll literally kill somebody. It will. It's not love. So you got to be aware. It puts you back into that love mode. It gets you off of that EMF side. It does have tremendous psychological benefits.
I'm going to kind of call it quits here, Jeff. It seems like you're fading in and out a lot. I just want to remind everyone to go up to teslatech.info and get to our YouTube channel. We encourage everyone to buy the exclusive membership for $9.99 a month. It helps us out. We're trying to get 1,000 members up there. Members are not the same as subscribers. And, with that, I want to remind everyone to be sure to hit that thumbs up. That people know to like this, so that and I'm hoping we don't get banned off of YouTube, because we do cover a lot of controversial material in this, in this particular presentation. So be sure to let your friends know about it and check it out this week before YouTube has a chance to take it down. Anyway, I'd like to thank you all, and hopefully see you all next week. And thank you, Jeff, for being here. And you always do a great presentation. I can't wait to see you at the conference. Maybe we could drag Gary down, and Toby. Anyway,
that'd be good.
Later. And